Hey, good morning, guys. Happy Saturday. Hey, got caught up yesterday at a work function, so thanks for being flexible and letting me come into your rooms here on Saturday morning. I got 5 good questions. I wanted to go ahead and start with that. So here we go. From Ian Golightly, he's asking, if you decide to have affiliates be salesmen for your product, what is the best training tools to supply them with? Well, I think we're looking at 2 different things. I think you're asking about training, and I think you're asking about sales tools, right? As far as training tools, if you're going to provide them training tools, you need to understand. You need to actually develop a curriculum. I mean, if you're asking them to train about your product, then you have to actually build a curriculum. And I think Dr. Tom Black would probably be a good resource for that if you're going to be developing curriculum for a sales training. And when you do have that curriculum, what you want to do is, like in anything with anything, and what we do a lot at work is do a lot of project management. We do a lot of installs for software systems. You want to do a step-by-step approach. So like, how are they supposed to contact your client, or how are they supposed to contact potential customers? What do you want to say to them? Is there a first step, a second step, a third step, a fourth step? So you kind of get what I'm saying, right? I'm kind of being a little bit nebulous because I don't know exactly what the product is that you're selling, but whatever it is, you have to develop a curriculum. So what I would do is I would look at the success that you created selling your product or your service, and then basically diagnose that and break that down step by step. So there's an actual systematic process to do that. So that's what I would do. I would look at your sales process right now. What has made you successful in that sales process? Break that down and put that down step by step by step by step. Now, what you can do from there is you can put it in, like, I don't know. I mean, you can get as rudimentary as putting it in a PowerPoint presentation and then training your new affiliates when they start selling your product in a classroom setting, or you can give them a booklet or pamphlet or what have you, or you can put it up online. It really depends, but you really just need to get a system down on how you're selling. Now, I guess maybe the other question, and this might be what you're asking, is what are sales tools? Now, that's a whole different subject. Sales tools, what I would use in any organization, even if you're a one-person organization or if you have 10,000 people in your organization, I would use a CRM. What we use in our company is called Salesforce. Basically, what that is a contact management system. So when you're actually going out to look for customers, you can input all their data, you can input all your activity, you can put notes and step by step process on where you're at on the sales cycle. So an effective CRM, you don't have to have a Salesforce CRM if you're smaller. Salesforce tends to be expensive. There's a lot of free CRMs out there, and again, you can kind of use that. But it's really important if you have multiple salespeople to have a CRM system, because you don't want each other to keep on running over each other, and you want to know what clients or what potential customers that your salespeople or your affiliates are going after. Let's see. Thanks for that question, Ian. Let's go to the next question. This looks a little bit more about career, which I mean, I'll be happy to answer too. It's from Carmen. She says, I have a question, but I think it hinges on professional growth and next steps in my career path. I've done Canadian payroll, getting back to the US payroll, but now I'm learning HR, which includes recruiting, full cycle, benefits administration. Do you offer professional coaching? I do. And she asked, I want to truly figure out next steps so I can progressively grow and become the best candidate, best credible work experience to back me up. Is it better to have more than one area of expertise or more? I want to be an executive one day and maybe potentially own a business with my expertise. Your thoughts? Okay, so I get these kind of questions a lot when it comes to career and career growth. Here's what I would do, right? It looks like you're in a Canadian payroll, you're trying to get back into US payroll right now, you're trying to learn, you want to learn full cycle recruiting, benefits administration, and what have you. Here's what I would do. Just like in my career, what I basically did is I had no experience in recruitment, I had no experience in HR. I found a company that I really liked, and I thought that was a great fit for me, both culturally and both how they're growing. And I just got into it with any position that I possibly can. And this is what's happening nowadays too. I think what people are looking at is that they're starting to see like, okay, I'm in HR, but then I wanted to get in sales, or I'm in HR and I wanted to get into IT, and they're directly applying to those positions. Because you don't have the skill set, you need to build it. And because they don't know you, they're probably not going to give you a chance. So Carmen, here's what I would do. I would find a company that you're really interested in. I would find I would want to see if it's aligned to what you want, your long-term growth, the product or service that they're selling, and the culture. If the culture fits you, I would try to get into that company in any capacity whatsoever. So when I started recruiting, I got into a mortgage company, and I actually started selling mortgage loans. But eventually I got into recruiting because that's what I wanted to do. Now, I proved myself in that position. I worked really hard as a recruiter, and eventually what happened is they made me an HR generalist. So how that basically worked is I built that relationship with my team. I built that relationship with my boss so I can have a chance to progressively go up. And then after that, I went back to, what I did was I went back to recruiting, then I started managing people, and then I started getting promoted after that. Now you're asking if you want to be an executive one day. I'm assuming you want to be an executive in the HR vertical. If that's the case, generally HR executives are coming from the not so much the recruiting end, but more of the HR operational end. So I'm talking about human relations. I'm talking about benefits and compensation. So what I would do, again, start off at one particular job function or specialty within the HR group, like recruiting, right? And generally that's probably the easiest way to get into is recruiting. And then if you want to then move over, prove yourself, work your butt off, show them the impact that you can have on the company, and they will give you another chance in a different department, and then do the same thing over and over and over again until you start climbing up with your career. Hopefully that answers your question. Next question is from Darian. Darian, his question is, how could you free up time to work on your business if you're not ready to hire your full-time employee yet? Okay, so how can you well, I mean, that's just a choice that you have to make. I would, if you need to free up some time for your business, what I would do is just kind of evaluate your day, and I would look at what kind of time you're basically wasting. I mean, I think I posted something on my Instagram, and Sean reposted it over here on AskAMillionaire that we have 168 hours a week. So, I mean, here's the thing. I think we're wasting a lot of time. We're not really evaluating where we're putting our priorities, and I guarantee if you look at the time, and if you look at your week, and you kind of evaluate where you're spending your time, you can probably carve out anywhere from 5 to 10 hours to try to figure out where you can get more time. So it's really a matter of prioritization. If you're watching TV, just stop. I mean, if you want to free up some time, and if you're watching 4 hours of TV or 5 hours of TV a day, then stop watching 4 hours or 5 hours of TV. I mean, it's kind of that simple. It's like when it's important to you, you'll make the time to do it. I have a child, I have a business to run, I'm starting another business, I need family time, and I don't cut out my cable. I don't watch television. I don't do things that are like, that aren't progressive to the goals that I'm trying to get. So basically, Darian, what I'm trying to say is, like, you just got to prioritize your day. Don't utilize your time. Don't participate in activities that aren't conducive to you achieving your goal. And that's it. I mean, it's pretty simple. Just focus on what you want and put your time into it, you know, and everything else that's not conducive to that, then don't do it. Thanks for the question, Darren. Let's see. Ankita, she asked, what are those characteristics of a person that makes you trust them and want to cooperate with them? I think she's asking, what are the characteristics of a person that you want to trust them and cooperate them when you're doing business? You know, I think the number one thing is you know, I guess to answer that, I would say integrity. You know, I don't think you can understand that off the bat, but I think you can, you know, just like in recruitment, you can kind of investigate their background and see what they've done. And you know, I think if someone's really transparent off the bat, I think if their intentions are right, that's what I would do. But you know, to be quite honest with you, in business, generally what I try to do is before I start to do any kind of like real business with them is just kind of get to know them. You know, I think relationship is very, very important, not just from a business transaction. I think nowadays what we do is we focus on the business transaction and the close of the deal rather than actually building that relationship. And sometimes sometimes that kind of bites us in the butt because you really didn't build that relationship. I really think it's important when you're talking to people and when you're trying to build any kind of relationship, personal relationship, business relationships, strategic relationships between two companies. I don't know whatever, any form of relationship. I think you need to try to build that relationship first and really understand and diagnose if this is the person you want to work with, this is the person you want to be in a relationship with. You know, so, you know, Ankita, to answer your question, I would try to really formulate a relationship with this person before you even, I mean, that's the whole process of wanting to know if you're going to get into business with them. I think if you get to know them over time, you know, and I'm not talking about a year, I'm talking about, you know, sit down, have coffee with them, do some follow-up meetings, and then, you know, get to really know who they are, then you'll probably understand if you want to do business with them or not. I mean, it's just like you know, in romantic relationships, you get to know them, and eventually they're going to show their colors. So that's what I would do. You know, it's you know, when you're talking about these kinds of intangible assets, it's really about just getting to know the person, and over time, it's going to appear if you want to work with them or not. So let's see. Actually, I got a question here. I got one more question here, but I think Mark asked a question. Paul, I own my own insurance agency, traditionally a commission-based industry. I'm looking to hire some salespeople, but I've been throwing around the idea of doing a tiered salary. Hold on really quick. I need to expand this. Tiered salary plus potential bonus on sales quotas rather than straight commission. Is that a good idea in traditionally commission-based industries? Will it be wasting my time or attracting the wrong types of candidates? Okay, that's actually a really good question. And I faced that in my company too. And Mark, here, I'll give you a little example of what was happening with my company. We were growing pretty rapidly, and I noticed, I guess to answer your question, with my company, I noticed that when I started paying people on a very sales-driven environment, that their production started to go down, right? And I think that's it's in all cases, especially if you're a smaller company, that if you start paying them, production starts to go down. So basically, what I did in my company is that I have 18 salespeople, and they are all 100% commission, and I've elevated their commission structure, right? I think really, really good salespeople thrive off of commissions, and they thrive off of the ability to make money. I don't think really, really good, driven and gregarious salespeople really want a salary. You know, at least that's what I've seen. Every single time I've hired somebody that wanted a base salary, it didn't work out. I mean, they just kind of sat there, and that was their safety net. So my recommendation to you is, I don't think I would actually offer a salary, especially in the insurance business. I would offer a more generous compensation package, a bigger commission split. And again, let me just say this. Salespeople, the mentality of salespeople is that they're in it to make money, uncapped income potential. They want to make they want to make as much money as I can. Generally, I mean, you know, and a good salesperson is self-driven. That's why they get into sales, right? Sales isn't an easy game. I mean, you're constantly going out there and you're selling. If they wanted a steady salary, they can go into IT or they can go into operations. But salespeople get into sales because they want to make money. Or the other side is, and throughout my career, is salespeople get into sales because they don't have any other skill sets, and that's why they're looking for. And it's an easier job to get into. So they start to look for a base salary, and they hope that they can have that base salary and maybe do well enough so they don't get fired. So, Mark, to answer your question, I would just really evaluate your bonus, not your bonus structure, but your commission structure, and give them an opportunity to make more money than they would make at another agency, and try that, because when I did that, then I had people leaving their full-time jobs with salaries and bases to be able to come to our company and make more commissions because they knew they had more income potential. So that's how I would answer that. Take a look at your commission package, see if you can increase it without cutting too deeply into you, and if you do that, and if salespeople understand that you've given them a higher commission package, they'll probably do a better job for you than actually give them more salary. And that's just for salespeople, guys. I'm not talking about IT, and I'm not talking about software developers, but salespeople, give them a better commission. They'll perform better. Let's see. Here's the last question here. It's from Christine Costa. In my current team, I have a colleague, not an employee, because we're both employed by university. She's very friendly. She's a very nice, friendly person, team player who is dedicated to her work, brings up good ideas. But it bugs me a bit that she spends quite a bit of time drinking coffee with other colleagues. Basically, it looks like this colleague of yours is chit-chatting with a whole bunch of people. It's probably annoying you, and you want her to work. I guess that's what it is. So it looks like you guys both work at a university here. It depends. I don't know. You say she's a colleague. Is a colleague disrupting your team? Are you a supervisor, or are you a manager of a particular team, and it's your colleague bugging your team? Well, if that's the case, if your colleague is bugging your team and they're like reducing productivity, then you need to have a conversation with her. I mean, she shouldn't be bugging your team. She shouldn't be over there, building, chit-chatting away if it's affecting your team's productivity. Now, if you're all colleagues, that's a whole different story. If you're not supervising them, if you're not, if you guys are all in the same thing, all in the same, level, then, I don't know really what you can do. I would just tune them out, to be honest with you. If you did have I don't know. This is an interesting question because it's more internal politics here. But if you guys are on the same level, I just, what I would do, I would just go to my colleagues and just say, hey, what do you think about this particular employee? Is it affecting your workday? Do you think she talks too much? I just have an honest conversation with that. And if it does, then maybe you guys should bring it up collectively as a team. And have a conversation with her. So it really depends on, if you're supervising the team and she's disrupting the productivity of your team, then, you should be having a talk with her immediately. But if you guys are all in the same team, all at the same capacity, then I think it would be more behoove you to get a hold of the other people on your team and ask what their opinion on it is. If the people on your team don't care that she's talking to them all the time, then my best advice is just tune it out and just do your work. But that's what I would recommend. Other than that, that's the 6 questions. Great questions, guys. Thanks so much for letting me answer that. Hey, you know what? The other mentor, Barney, did a 30-minute phone conversation, and I'm thinking about doing that too. Because I think with human resources, building team, recruitment, I need a little bit more information so I can have you, so I can really answer how to effectively scale your business. I think I wrote a post on Most Won't, I Will, that there are 5 different reasons why businesses fail. And I think what we really, and for me actually, I think what we forget is that we're so focused sometimes on sales and marketing and trying to get our business out there. But what happens is once you get once you land that big deal, then you're going to run out of capacity, right? So it's really, you're going to run out of capacity. You're going to find yourself working 24 hours a day. I know that's what I did for the first like year and a half. I mean, I landed a big client, and I just buried myself in the office, and because I had to deliver, right? Because you spend so much time to try to get a customer, and when you finally do, then you have to deliver, right? Because it's actually worse if you gain a customer and then you don't deliver. Then your credibility's shot. So what happens if you don't effectively plan your workforce or help when you land that customer, then you're going to be working 24 hours a day, and you'll never have time to actually grow your company. So what I would love to do is just kind of get to know you more and offer that same thing that Barney did, so I can understand where you are in your sales, where you are in your company, how big it is, how fast you want to grow it, and then put an effective plan behind it to grow your business. To grow the workforce in your business. And I think a tip that I would give you guys, as much as you are prospecting for new business and trying to grow your business, I would really start networking and keep it in the back of your head. If you're not ready to bring on employees, I would start thinking in the back of your head about all the people you're networking with and all the people that you're meeting with, if they can actually be employees at your company, or you can hire them eventually, right? A lot of the people that are on my team now, I've been talking to them for the last, 2 years or a year or 6 months. I don't hire them immediately. The problem is we start hiring people when we have a need. And then when we start hiring people when we have a need, we're reactionary, right? And sometimes when you're a big company, you just can't help it. You just have a tremendous hiring need, and you need to be reactionary and try to help them. But if you're small and you haven't gotten, if you're small and you haven't hired your first person, or you haven't hired you haven't hired a lot of people yet, I would start trying to build those relationships early on. And then, you might not need them, right now, but you might need them in 6 months. You might need them in 8 months. And then if you formulate the relationship now, in the next 6 months, when you do need them, you would have 6 months of relationship building, so you can bring them onto your team. So again, hopefully that was helpful with the questions. Thanks for all the questions. Don't be shy about asking questions. I like answering these things. But other than that, I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see if I can squeeze some time to have a 30-minute call with you guys like Barney. I really thought that idea was great, and it will help me help you guys a little bit more as I can try to figure out if I can learn more about your business, and then actually help you more specifically than giving you generalized questions. Have a great weekend, guys, and we'll see you next week.